when you were racing around Alabama, and you mentioned that you won a lot and you were not liked because you were winning so much, and Pam sticking her finger in the window of the van and yelling at you for beating Davey and all that. Then you go to Winston Cup. How difficult was it to manage your expectations and not become too spun out by not immediately winning?
Very tough. That's probably the hardest thing, really, for anybody to go from winning and then, where you can't win at all, basically. It was a competitive sport. I heard Dick Trickle say this many years ago, when he got there. Hey, he said, everybody here is a champion from something, and you don't win championships without being good. And, I was like, that's a good analogy, I mean,
yeah.
But it's, it is very tough, and your wins aren't every weekend, like they were, or 2 or 3, and it was very tough. I mean, it beats you up emotionally, and you just have to, keep plugging along somehow, some way, and not give up, and just keep your eye on the prize. And that was basically what I tried to do, the whole time. I always had a lot of inner confidence, not where people could see it, but I always knew, I always felt when I put that helmet on and strapped it on, tightened the seat belts, I was as good as there was out there. And whether I was or whether I wasn't, I felt like that, and I felt like any driver, that has any kind of success, that's how they have to feel. But that's it.
So you leave Bobby's near the end of the 92 season, and you've got the deal to drive for Junior in 1993. But in the 1992 Hooters 500 in Atlanta, you're driving for Larry Hedrick, which I would assume that's a 1 or 2 race deal or whatever. And just the second lap of the race, you get caught up in a big accident that left you pretty banged up. And I think you were even supposed to test the next day. What all happened?
When they dropped the green flag, I think Brett Bodine was on the pole, and
Rick Mast was on the pole, and Brett was outside.
Okay, all right, yep, that's right.
Yeah,
and somehow or another, I think was Earnhardt involved in getting?
Yeah, Earnhardt got into Brett.
Okay, that's what happened. Yeah, and then when they spun, Brett or somebody spun, they come down, up from the wall down the bottom, and I was at the bottom and drove right into them. You run 170 miles an hour or whatever, you just couldn't miss him. But that was highly disappointing because I felt like we had a really good race car that day. I was wanting to see. That was actually Larry Hedrick's first time with a Ford, and we had, I was looking forward to getting to run a race with Harry Hyde. He was crew chiefing, and I'm pretty sure Jake Elder was there too, from time to time. I don't think he was crew chief, but he was helping some. So I was looking forward to getting work with some experienced guys there that would have been pretty fun.
You mentioned the fact that you had talked to the 43 team about replacing Richard, and of course you took the deal with Junior Johnson. Were you offered the 43 car, or were you just maybe in the mix?
I don't know really how far.
Okay.
I feel pretty confident. I had Richard's phone number. I talked to him, 5 or 6 times, on the telephone. Everything was, I felt like, everything. I had probably 80% chance, I feel like, at that time. It just, because, we'd done a lot of stuff together. He and I had, back in Pontiac days and different autograph sessions, things like that, and got to know each other. Loved him to death, and I thought that was, that would have been, an extremely good marriage there. But it just didn't work out. I don't know, when the McDonald's deal come about with Junior, it just, everything happened so fast that, it was, I like McDonald's. McDonald's liked me, and Junior the same way with everybody. And it was just, I thought it was just, a dream come true.
You got off to a pretty decent start at Daytona in the 93 Daytona 500, and you finished fourth. And I think it's so cool. We're sitting here talking, and I can look up, and the side off that car is hanging right above you.
Yep.
What do you remember about that day?
I remember we had a really good race car, handled good. Didn't have the fastest race car, but I think we had a good race car that you could run wide open, didn't have to lift out of the throttle. It was just a good handling car. Come down the end of the race, we was leading with about 20 to go, and I don't know, probably 15, 16 laps. Earnhardt, somebody hooked up with Earnhardt and come by me, and then come down the end of the race, we all fanned out, and I could see the car at one. He was right in front of me, and we was all fanned out. Top 5 cars was, guy that finished 5th could have won just as easy as guy won could have finished 5th. But it was a great day. By far the best race we had all year. But it just things didn't go that good after that.
What was it like driving for Junior at that point in his career?
Junior was probably the most laid-back car owner, just laid back. He would come and give his 2 cents worth at Martinsville and North Wilkesboro or somewhere like that, but he wouldn't. And by right he had all right to come at any time, but he knew those places and had a lot of success with them. And he was. I'd love, every time I'd go up there, I'd always get him, and we'd, go over to his friend's Millard Ashley's place and go eat with him, and it was always
Millard Ashley, yes, sir.
But it was a lot of good times.
Yeah. Okay, now I have to ask. You went and ate with Millard Ashley at his place. Where was that?
That was at a salvage yard.
Okay.
Called 21 Motors.
I know exactly where. Yeah. I live like 2 miles from there.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. I used to go there. And it's so ironic, man, because Miller's
21 Motors. Yes, sir.
His junkyard reminded me so much of my dad's junkyard. Layout a lot like his was. Had a stove in the middle where they cooked pinto beans and stuff. And man, I tell you what, we used to go there sometimes and hear some great stories and sometimes there'd be like, I'd look around and be like Junior, and then there'd be Ralph Seagraves, and then there'd be, like Millard, and I'd be like, man, I'm starstruck, and it was just, it was so awesome, and all the stories they'd sit there and tell, and then of course they'd get into some of that tune-up juice and
that product. Well, listen, obviously I know Millard, and the best way to describe Millard is that you said that he was one of Junior's friends. Mm-hmm. He was also, let's just say he was also one of Junior's business associates way back in the day.
He probably was. Well, ain't no probably.
No, there ain't no probably to it.
No, you're right about that.
Hut, I hate to go from that to this question, but July 12th, 1993, Davey gets in his helicopter with Red, and he flies over to Talladega. Mm-hmm. How difficult were those next few days and weeks for you and the family? And
extremely. We had a lot of stuff hit us. Pam and myself, our family, had us, with Davey's deal. We lost a real close friend of mine down in Calera, friend I grew up, close friend of mine, Mike Crawford, lost him along at the same time. And within 2 or 3 weeks there, I lost my racetrack best friend, then I lost my best friend, from Calera, and it was a pretty devastating time. It really was. The helicopter accident, going back to that a little bit. A lot of people don't know this, but I'd flew to Loudon with Davey up there, and on Saturday, David told me, he said, Saturday during the race, not during the race, but while I was at the racetrack, David said, hey, he said, David Bonnett's going to be testing Talladega Monday. Said, you want to let's take the helicopter and go up there? I said, yeah, man, that sounds good. That sounds good. So he and I had planned on doing that. So anyway, we go out to eat Saturday night in Loudon, and me and the whole McDonald's crew, we go to some place there, and we all order food, and we all basically eat the same thing. And we had the absolute worst case of food poisoning that you could possibly imagine. Every one of us got sick. I mean, and there was no alcohol involved or anything.
Yeah,
I mean, it was just, And so anyway, we come Sunday morning, we're all in the infirmary there, getting IVs in our arms and getting, just still sick as a dog. And anyway, I run 20 laps in the race and had to get out of the car and let Jeff Burton get in the car for me and drive it the rest of the day because he blew up early. But they carried me back to the hospital because I had no, I was like a limp dish rag basically. And so I spent the night in the hospital Sunday night. And
you actually spent the night?
Yeah, I spent the night.
Really?
Yeah, I had to spend the night in the hospital Sunday night. And then Monday, I guess about lunchtime, I got home, flew home. And then when I got home, drove into Clear, and then I got the news that Davey had crashed. And, I was just like, oh, my God. It was just, and Pam knew, she said, man, this, the good Lord works in mysterious ways. And, it was a bad deal. I mean, then we went to the hospital, later on that day, and we knew then. We didn't really get to see him or anything, but, some of the close family that went in there did. And we knew that, he wasn't going to make it. And, like I said, the way it turned out, it was somewhat of a blessing for Hut Stricklin, but then it was, it was devastating for our whole family.
I don't know an appropriate way to ask this, but is that something that you had to deal with?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I mean...
Yeah. Yeah, every race, I'd go to, Davey and I, we would talk setups and, different things all the time. And, basically, what's weird is, from the time I started racing till I bought a Dillon car in 1983, 84, I had an Allison car, Bobby Allison, one that they built down there. And a guy named Johnny Day worked for them, built it. And we always compared notes on our Allison car. And anyway, so we had a great relationship, from early on. And then when we'd go to the races, we always compared notes and different things, hey, this worked for me. And, man, that guy helped us so much, when I drove for Bobby and different things, just, stuff they'd learn. And I like to think we helped him too, because we would definitely share. It was like an open book thing with he and I both, and it was just a great relationship.
You were at the 27 car through the end of 93, and then you moved over to the 23 with Travis Carter and the Smokin' Joe's deal in 94. Was there any kind of connection between the two teams, or were they totally separate deals?
Well, when we started the Smokin' Joe's team, basically it was a lot of hand-me-down stuff from the 27 car because that team kind of got started at the last minute. But it was basically the same thing, as the 27 car stuff. We built, I think our first brand new car we had was in Indianapolis. We run, and I don't remember what happened in the race, but we qualified, top 20 out of probably 100 cars there.
Yeah,
that was a big field of cars. But we just that team and I, great people. Man, I just for some reason or other we we just couldn't seem to put all the pieces together with that. I don't know why. Once we and Travis Carter, poor old Travis and Pete Wright, they were pulling their hair out and I was pulling my hair out. And it was just, we just couldn't ever seem to get going,
So I'm just going to ask, Jimmy Spencer.
Yep.
Was all that just a coincidence? Or was there maybe something actually going on between the two of you where you kept having a ride and he kept coming in and replacing you? I mean, it happened several times.
Well, just because it happened in 89, 90, 91, 92, 93. No, how do I say this nicely without just saying it? And I'm not going to say it nicely. I'm just going to say it. Basically, Jimmy was going in there behind my back and, telling the owner, hey, I can outdrive Hut Stricklin. Put me in there. I can do better. I can do this. I can do that. Because I heard everything. People would tell me everything that he had said. And that's fine. But I would never do that with anybody else. I would never. That's just, and I wasn't going in there trying to defend myself or anything like that because it's useless. If somebody's going to believe that, let them go have at it. Every time he's come along behind anything that I did, he done worse than I did in Rod Osterlund's. He done worse than I did in McDonald's car, other than the fact they won 2 races, restrictor plate races, which, still be questionable were they right or were they wrong. But, that's, whatever. I mean, but still we won 2 races and they was about 3 or 4 positions behind me in points where we finished that the year before. So you take those 2 wins out, he's even worse, but still, and then the deal come along with Travis and it's just a combination, and then you got Bobby's car, just different things. I don't really know what went on. Bobby's deal, I stepped out of it. He didn't root me out of there. But the junior thing and then Travis thing and it just somewhat freak maybe, but I think there was more to it.
Is it something that you actually talked to him about, or
Spencer?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
No. I never even talked to Spencer. I pretty much hated him as a driver.
Yeah.
And it's ironic. He'll come in over there where I work now, and he'll hang out an hour, and we'll sit there and talk like old friends.
Today he will.
Yeah, he will today.
Really?
Yeah, sure will.
Okay.
And I don't hold anything against him.
Right.
But drivers just, some drivers just hate other drivers. And
Yeah.
I didn't hate him personally. I didn't like his driving style. I wasn't raised that way. The racers I grew up with in Alabama, racing with Bobby and Donnie and Red Farmer and Dave Mater and different people like that. You drive that way, they'll park you. And the way he drives. And I grew up with, I'd take my car home every Friday and Saturday night, and very seldom would I even have a wheel mark on it.
Yeah.
And that's how they taught me to race, and that's how they all raced. And and you can see it a lot from the guys that grew up in ASA racing. The Dick Trickles, the Mark Martins, the Rusty Wallaces, and Kowicki's, and people like that. That's the way they race. They don't run into each other and knock each other out of the way. And I guess Spencer just come along in the days with modifieds where that's what you did, and that's how they drove, and that's fine.
You did start off 1995 on the sidelines.
Mm-hmm.
How hard was that?
Very hard. I honestly thought I'd reached a point there, and I didn't think I was going to get another shot.
Yeah.
I really didn't.
Yeah.
Because things just, had good sponsorship, with McDonald's, and had good sponsorship with the Smoking Joe's car, and nothing happened, and it just, when I got a call from from Kenny Bernstein to wanted me to come see if I could help, work with Steve Kinzer. I was like, well, heck, I ain't doing nothing else. Let's go to it, And so, we would go test the Quaker State car with Steve Kinzer.
Okay.
We'd take 2 cars to the track. I'd get in one, he'd get in the other. We'd go different racetracks, and I'd let him follow me. Then I'd follow him. I'd be on the radio telling him, hey, widen your arc out getting in the corner, or or easy on the throttle off the corner, different things like that, tried to talk to him like I would want to be talked to, it's just one of the things that he had done what he had done for so long, and he had developed a lot of habits that I think would have been very hard to break, especially on racetracks where it takes finesse or things like that, which in the Cup cars about what it does take. I mean, at the time, what they got now, I don't know about, but
Yeah.
But back then, you had to have a lot of finesse, and if you didn't, your stuff wouldn't last.
It could evidently be pretty interesting working with Kenny Bernstein. What was your relationship like with Kenny?
I'll tell you what, he's one of the best guys I ever drove for.
No kidding. Okay.
And I'll tell you right now, I loved him to death. He was so cut and dry. You always knew right where you stood with him all the time.
Yeah.
And he would say what was on his mind, and I was I was always a no BS guy. I'd tell him, just as it was, if I screwed up, I say I screwed up, or engine wasn't no good today, or we just couldn't get a bite off the corner for whatever reason, and he was okay with that. I mean, it was, and Bernstein was a lot like Bobby. It was always cool to talk to Bobby because Bobby was like being a racer. They were just, you could speak the same language, and they both understood, and that was always pretty cool.
Now, did you ever get to try out one of his cars?
No. Don't think I wanted to.
Shot.
I did go to one of his drag races one time right before.
Wow.
Yeah, they was running Rockingham, and that was pretty awesome. I tell you, that's the first drag race I'd ever went to.
No kidding.
And man, watch that thing take off. Oh my God, I didn't know. I thought we was having an earthquake, and it was ungodly loud.
Wow.
But they put me down on the start line. Man, that thing, I didn't know whether to run or stand still or just let the earth shake my heart out.